Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teens safer as they grow, like making sure they've got the right gear for riding.
Knee pads.
Check.
And helmet?
Done. See you, Dad.
New Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Rolling.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1073, May 8, 2023. 90 degrees on this day in 1874.
Wow.
And 28 degrees on this day in 1960.
And that is brought to you by
Aquaside.
Right.
Well, I thought we heard the music first.
No.
Well, if you own a home or a pond, you got the old swimming hole with the tire swing. Aquaside will keep that area free of weeds and algae and all the gunk you can think of. They've been doing this for more than 60 years with a complete line of lake and pond control products that take care of everything. The products are easy to use. They work quickly. They're registered with the EPA and DNR, and their products are completely safe for your family. There's no ice outs today, so that must mean swimming season is getting closer.
Here.
Don't let weeds overtake your area. Call Aquaside today. They'll help you identify your weed problem and get you the right products. Call Aquaside at 1-800-328-9350 or go to aquaside.com.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
Marine writes, today's ray of hope.
Here's today's ray of hope.
Excuse me. It's drive your tractor to school day.
Nice.
In Piers.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
In Piers.
Love it.
I have a note, and I want you to help me understand it. From Tim Werner. I don't know. Let me read it. Joe, you are fond of beginning the show with ice out dates and lilac bloom dates to bookend each spring season. And I think your listening audience enjoys this tradition, even if your resident band of dummies don't. It appears that your message with ice out dates is that the results are a statistical scatter plot, random dates over the years with no apparent trend over time. And with lilac bloom dates, I recall that your point is that your lilacs in St. Paul bloom on the same days every year and always have. So far, you got me?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing, Rook?
Looking at my email by listening to you read this.
I was curious to see if a modicum of research would validate your narratives.
A what?
A modicum of research would validate your narratives. It didn't. First, the ice cover data. According to the Minnesota DNR and the MPCA, ice-in dates across the state are, on average, coming 9 days later than they were in the 1960s, while ice-out dates are coming about 5 days earlier. So that means 2 or a few weeks of ice cover than we had just 50 years ago. Of course, results vary by lake. Bemidji Lake in Beltrami County has 18.9 fewer days of ice cover, while Detroit Lake in Becker County has 9.5 days, but there is clearly a trend towards shorter ice cover on Minnesota lakes. Okay. Next, lilac bloom dates.
Okay.
New research at the University of Toledo shows that North American lilac bloom dates have been on average 1 day earlier every 3 years since 1973. This data was collected from 53 locations across the U.S. and Canada for the common lilac Syringa vulgaris. The location that began changing the earliest in 1964 is the South Cow Mountain Recreation Area in the Mayacamas Mountains in California. Minnesota, near Grand Rapids, is home to the lilac that was the last detected to change bloom dates in 1976. It has always struck me that you have been relatively incurious about whether the dates you report daily reflect any kind of trend. I never intended to reflect a trend, and I'm not incurious. I'm terribly curious that the ice out dates are, as you call it, a scatter plot. They're all over the map.
All over the map.
I mean, today's hot weather temperature is 1874. I'm not suggesting anything except I find that comforting news statistically that your hysteria today means nothing.
I'm confused at what the emailer's
I'm not done.
point of contention.
Here
Oh,
we
I'm
go.
sorry. Okay.
It has always struck me that you have been relatively incurious. I'm a very curious
Well, I was
person.
going to say, you're about the most curious person I know.
It has always struck me that you have been relatively incurious about whether the dates you report daily reflect any kind of trend. Of course, it is possible for dates that seem to be completely random to be proven to represent a pattern or trend using statistical and regression analysis. And that seems to be the case here for ice cover and lilac bloom dates. Just thought you'd want to know that the data you've been reporting over all these years may actually be signaling a different message than you've intended. Good luck, Tim. I don't know if I'm being taken to task, if I'm very discreetly being called a climate change denier. I don't know what Tim wants me to understand.
It sounds to me like he is taking you to task.
That's what I
because
thought too.
He's saying 14 days difference with the ice outs, and if you figure out his thing with lilacs, that also works out to about 13 or 14 days
13
difference.
Well, I'm not seeing
1973.
that. I'm not seeing that in my reporting.
Well, that's what his numbers show. That's all I'm saying. That's why he.
In 2018, ice out of Minnetonka was May 5. In 1857, ice out on Minnetonka was May 5.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm curious is the wrong word.
Well, you're reporting.
I'm fascinated by that.
Oh.
I am told I live in a time of catastrophe and calamity, that mankind is ruining the earth. But ice went out of Minnetonka in 1857 on May 5th and on May 5th, 2018.
And you don't deny that the climate changes.
It's always changed.
It's
always going to change.
And you've said that from day one.
But I want to take Tim seriously. He did some homework. I'm struggling to understand what he wants me to understand by his homework because I'm not finding 2 weeks less cover of ice based on these random ice out dates.
Right.
But what was his data was provided by whom?
He linked me to that.
Oh.
Bringmethenews.com. He gets his news from there. Minnesota lakes have 2 fewer weeks of ice coverage versus 50 years ago. Blame climate change. 50 years ago is 1973. Correct?
Yep.
Yes.
1973. Ice went out on Minnetonka on April 4th. This year, ice went out on Minnetonka on April 19th. 50 years. 50 years. Let me just look there. In May of 1965, the ice went out on May 1st. I'm looking from 1973. Everything is beginning in 1973. Everything is April. 1987 was March 21st. Everything is April. Everything is April till 2000, March 18. But then you get to 2013, it was back to May 2nd. And then it was May 5th in 2018, March 30th in 2019, April 19th this year. Well, maybe what trend he's buying is the idea that, since 1973, there haven't been many. There's been 2 May ice outs. I don't know.
I found the
it's
story.
It's not worth worrying a lot about.
I found the story that Tim's referencing. It's actually a December 10th of 2021 story. So when I clicked on the link, the link provided, unless you have something different, Johnny, but the link provided, it doesn't really give you much information.
It originally came from a press release from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Which
So that's
desperately,
whoever-
to stay in business, needs you to have climate change hysteria.
Yeah. And so whoever picked it up from that press release.
Well, it
obviously.
also strikes me that couldn't you create a pattern based on any set of statistics?
Sure.
I mean, I could create a pattern from 1857, let's say, to 1940. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes.
Or 1940 to 1970. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we're on the same page there. I could create a pattern. Probably the same for lilacs. I'm very worried about my lilacs. I've told you, the rabbits have pretty much destroyed pretty much half the bushes.
How'd they get up that high?
They stood on the snow. No, it's the highest branches that are going to flourish. They probably ate their way halfway up.
Got it.
They ate their way halfway up, and I fear that those will not bloom.
Is this damage that can be restored?
That I don't know. It doesn't look like it to me. Those look like dried out, dead
Oh, no.
branches.
We're going to have a memorial service.
Well, I
of some
wonder
type.
if I have to have if I have the whole row replanted, what guarantee do I have that rabbits wouldn't consume them again?
But you've never had this problem before.
No, and I don't understand that. But we must be suffering an absence of foxes, because the rabbit population is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had the one that parked it underneath your deck,
That
right?
was a couple of years ago, yeah.
Okay.
He must have died in a blizzard.
But maybe he's the one that prevented the rabbits from eating your lilacs.
I'm serious. Yeah, I think he died in one of those April blizzards we had 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
And he took shelter under the deck, and he just conked out. You know,
Took
What a
a
way to
nap
go.
and never got up.
What a way to go.
And I have pictures from people sending me pictures of the opossums they see in their yards. And one of the pictures was Jill carrying about 5 joeys on her back. And the joey at the tail end kept falling off and had to run back to catch up to mom and hop back on.
He'll be in the best shape.
Like Woody Allen in the movie when he had to keep catching up.
That's right. I haven't seen the opossum but that once. But they apparently have no interest in rabbits. You know, so, well, I'm just delaying getting on to my
The
anger.
dreadful news of the day.
I'm just delaying getting to my anger. You had a guy shot in cold blood, murdered, Saturday morning in St. Anthony Park, a guy named Michael Brasel. About your age, Reavers, with 2 kids, 2 boys.
Yep. Coach both of them.
He was a classmate of a kid I used to have and her husband. So they took this particularly alarmingly. We don't know who the perpetrators are. 5 will get you 10 that when we do, I'm going to predict. I don't have any reason to know, but based on what's happening in St. Paul and Minneapolis, I would say what we'll discover is that they were teenagers, that they have what I would call an extensive criminal background,
This won't be their first time.
which did not amount to them ever suffering any consequences. Mary Moriarty has pledged her public life to letting people like that loose or pretending that she's getting them some help. That's what I suspect. I don't know. We might find out that it was 3 adults trying to steal a catalytic converter. The story is that mom came home
From work.
She was a nurse, and she went in the house on Saturday morning and was taking a little snooze on the couch, and the kids looked out the window and say, "Dad, what's the deal? Somebody's going through Mom's car." And he reacted the way, until now, everybody would react.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing?
You go outside, because men go outside.
Yep.
And you say, hey, what? We don't even know that. We don't know if we don't know anything.
There was an altercation or
But let's presume he went outside and said, "What are you guys doing?" 3 shots to the chest, he's dead. Well, what I think that suggests is, and Melvin didn't show up in the neighborhood. Melvin did.
He did not. Nope.
People were wondering if Mitra Jalali, the representative of that area in the city council, had a reaction, and she did. She expressed her condolences. From now on, because St. Paul is lawless and the people in charge are handling it completely the wrong way, if you witness your car being vandalized at your curb or in your driveway, I guess the council has to be, don't go outside. Don't go outside.
We've had some talks.
Take the car. Cars are cheap.
And my phrase to both my sons and my wife is, it ain't worth it. It's just not worth it. And I would have a completely different reaction 10 years ago, 15, whatever, than I will today, because it's not worth it. These people, the ones that pulled the trigger on this poor guy, those people don't care about life. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They don't care about anything other than the $20 that they might find or sell for the stuff that they're going to steal out of your vehicle. They don't care about you.
I have 2 sons-in-law who are going to have to be strongly disabused of the notion to go outside, because I know that would have been the reaction of both of them.
It would have been the same thing I would have done. But
Now, today, what you must do is harness yourself.
Yep.
You're going to have to. I'll try to send the CP out, but a lot of times she doesn't go, so I have to.
Joe.
Hey,
Well, I tried to get her out there to get
You're the backup.
possum.
You're the backup.
I'm the backup.
Yeah.
I'm here to help.
But remind me, because you guys know this, that's not a bad part of St. Paul, right? That neighborhood.
Those definitions no longer exist.
Okay.
You're no longer safe, no matter what the socioeconomic status is of the neighborhood. This was St. Anthony Park, just west of the fairgrounds, a lovely little neighborhood.
Because when I read the story yesterday, I kept thinking, that's a nice neighborhood.
Great houses, great old houses, architecture.
But it doesn't.
Muffaletta.
It does that.
None of that
Get over
matters.
that.
Yeah, none
get
of that
over that.
matters
The
anymore.
CP was carjacked on the same type of neighborhood on an August afternoon last year. I've danced around claiming that it was her, but it was her. I think that's become clear by now.
Pat Conley.
And she's lucky that she didn't get hurt, because she started wailing on the guy. She is really, really lucky that he apparently did not have a gun. Or if he did, he somehow refrained from using it. I said, don't ever do that again. Jesus Christ.
It's not worth it.
So that's our new, the new law of St. Paul is, let them steal your stuff, because you're going to get shot if you go outside. That's what this city has become too. This city that used to be a hell of a city is a hellhole. It's a hellscape. It's rotten to the core from the leadership on down. It's the same in Minneapolis, and unfortunately, it's pretty much the same the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings. Now, this doesn't even take rural America off the hook. No. Cops are getting shot right and left in western Wisconsin. Cops are getting shot in northern and central Minnesota. The decline of moral and ethical integrity is a tidal wave that's sweeping over this country. You had horrendous killings over the weekend in Texas. A mall shooting, an idiot driving his car into people.
We're broken.
It's broken. This country is broken. The city of St. Paul is broken. It's broken dramatically. It's one thing to come out of your house on a Saturday morning and a tree falls on you. I'm not being silly. I'm not being facetious. It's one thing to come outside and a tree falls on you and we lose Dad. Okay, the sorrow would be different. That's nature. That's the no, not the hour.
Right.
Do we have to apply no, not the hour now to everything? To getting shot? Yes, we do.
I think we do.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I think we do.
So you go outside now and people are rifling through your car. You better go outside understanding no, not the hour. So rather than risk no, not the hour, I'd stay inside and watch through the window. Call 911 and hope for the best.
Because again, it's not worth it.
Because we have no clue now. These are not normal criminals.
No.
These are morally bankrupt kids that I'm guessing is going to turn out to be kids. Morally bankrupt kids who have had no upbringing whatsoever. Zero.
And will show no remorse.
No remorse whatsoever. I'm not sure they've understood what they've done. I'm not sure they're capable of understanding what they've ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pick one here.
Good luck.
Well, sometimes what I do to...
You look for a transition.
Well, you know what?
A segue.
You know, I said this yesterday to the CP. I wonder if I should drive around with the top down. It's just easier to get shot. I mean, I'm serious.
Morbid thought.
I don't ever worry about one of these cars getting stolen because these kids don't know how to drive a stick.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Unfortunately, the scooter that I have maintained...
That one you might have to give up.
Well, by EcoFund, what I do is give that up because that's just automatic transmission.
That's a good point.
Just twist the throttle and go on that Yamaha.
Hey, I just changed the oil. Yeah, just take that.
EcoFund did. They took care of it all winter, tuned it up, changed the fluids, charged the battery. I love it. I do my errands on it. You can get a scooter at EcoFun on sale, spring sale, all the scooters that turn urban errands into adventures. Well, the electric bike, it's the electric bike capital of the world. You could save $400 right now on new electric bikes. Youth recreational equipment, the Vanderhall USA Roadsters, the golf carts, the service, the apparel, helmets. Helmets are crucial. I can't tell you enough what a great discovery it's been for GLers to discover EcoFun Motorsports. They're in Forest Lake on Highway 97, immediately west of Interstate 35. You can't miss them. And down in Burnsville on the Service Road of Life near County Road 42. EcoFunMotorsports.com.
Not a Garage Logic Town Council member? Here's what you're missing.
They texted me, did you make this? No, I did not make it. Okay, they shut the account down. Yesterday, I talked to the lady, and she said, tell me what one of your last purchases was.
Oh, God.
$1.61 at Sam's Club. I got the hot
You went into Sam's Club for
You use plastic to buy a
$1.61?
bleeping hot dog?
bleeping hot dog.
It's people like you that are ruining the world. You got to stand in line between this idiot who has to get his card out to get a hot dog.
I started scrolling down, and I did get really embarrassed. I'm like, it was $1.61 at Sam's. I got the hot dog.
Rolled wheat log.
$2 on you?
I must not have had any money.
So you parked at Sam's, walked into that giant warehouse, and bought a rolling meat log, and that's it.
It's not an overstated meal for $1.61. It's
What do you get with it?
the fixins.
The fixins.
Go behind the scenes of Garage Logic with unfiltered audio and video access, invites to exclusive events, an emailed newsletter from the mayor himself, and more by signing up at GarageLogic.com.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Guess what season it is?
'Tis the season.
Spring.
It's officially mosquito season. So guess who's back? Our friends at Mosquito Shield. I know you're probably not, dealing with the bugs yet, but it's coming, especially with all the moisture that we've had. Listen, Ray and Mike, the father and son team, GLers. They're owned and operated by Ray and Mike Mosquito Shield. They're the father and son team that are GLers and operate 2 franchises right here in the Twin Cities, and they've been at it for a number of years. Here's the deal. Their territory runs east of 169 and 35W, all the way to St. Croix, north to Forest Lake, and then all the way south to Lakeville.
You know what that is? That's Skeeter territory.
And it works. I'm a customer of Mosquito Shield, have been for years, and I cannot tell you the difference that it makes. So get on their schedule right now. You know what they do? They take care of everything. Find them online, moshield.com. Joe, there's no dash with this. It's moshield.com, moshield.com. Just put in your zip code, and you're going to find them. Or you can give Kelsey and Mike a call directly at 612-619-1556. Again, that's 612-619-1556. If you mention Garage Logic, you're going to get $50 off of your service. moshield.com. Tell them you heard about them here on the Garage Logic podcast.
The DFL has passed the law to make it easier to vote. They continue to fix voting. It was signed into law by Walz on Friday. It could mean hundreds of thousands more voters on the rolls in Minnesota because you'll be registered automatically when you get your driver's license. Mm-hmm. It means hundreds of thousands of more voters for the DFL.
Wait a minute. No, just a couple of weeks ago or months ago, didn't we also just pass that everyone gets a license?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that had nothing to do, I'm sure, with this coming down the pipe later. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And the governor apparently once said he would not sign such a bill. So he's gone against
Was that when he was running for governor and campaigning?
So.
Oh, and he changed his tune, huh?
You can just change your mind sometimes.
Oh, that's easy.
I believe so.
It's a fun game to play. What a crock of...
all I can tell you is that, what can I tell you? The Democrats also wish to abandon the Electoral College and throw Minnesota's votes to the popular vote leader. Voting used to be a charming civic task. It's now being used for obfuscation as far as I'm concerned. And I don't understand why. I know, John, you're a big fan of easier voting. I don't know how in the hell it could get easier. It's pretty damn easy to vote. You just vote. But that's not good enough.
Why do we assume that the kids who they're automatically registering, why do we assume they're all voting Democrat?
Because they're idiots.
That's why they vote Democrat, apparently.
Yeah.
Well,
pre-registration of 16 and 17-year-olds. Permanent absentee voter list. Crackdown on disinformation. New disclosure requirements. Automatic voter registration. Younger Minnesotans can pre-register to vote and make it easier to vote by mail.
How about the 16 and 17-year-old stuff?
They get pre-registered.
Prepping them to... It's not complex.
Why do we assume they vote?
Well, do you think
Democrat?
that mail's going to come to them with a big Republican symbol on the literature?
Well, it's not going to come with Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, well, this is brought to you by your Secretary of State, DFLer Steve Simon.
Well, it's still not going to have party affiliation kind of stuff attached to it.
Okay, we'll just wait and see what happens, but I don't think I'm on a real shaky limb to suggest that this is a means to increase Democrat vote turnout. I don't think that's a shaky limb that I'm on. Republican thinking people or people with even a bit of conservative thinking, they don't need or require this kind of help. I don't need this help. I have children who, if they were 16 and 17, I can tell you back then, they would not have needed this help. Mm-hmm. So who is it that needs this help, John?
Nobody.
Okay.
But you haven't answered the question. Why are those young people going to vote Democrat, not Republican? Why should I assume
Because I
that?
think it will be a resounding campaign theme among DFLers that Please turn out at the polls. Your vote is important. We've made it easier for you. You can pre-register. You can do this. You can do that. And they'll probably be predisposed to vote DFL. That's what they've heard. They've heard that hectoring call that we've made it easier for you.
That seems silly to me, what you just said, but
isn't John though part of it the indoctrination of the young voter from the time that they're in the failed or entering the failed academy?
And it's what they'll hear about in the failed academy too, because the teachers union benefit by DFL victories. So it's really important to get those 16-year-olds on board, proselytize them early, and then when they go to the polls, they're another successful recruit.
I guess I don't like the idea of you doing something for me on my behalf when it comes to voting, because to me, that just makes it that much easier for voting fraud schemes to take place.
I think, as we proved in the last election, voting fraud is a very, 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 very small problem. And I think it always will be. So the fraud thing, the argument to me is just stretched to the limits. I can't do it anymore.
I'll go along with the probability of fraud. I certainly didn't think Trump was correct. But more importantly to me is just it's a recruitment exercise as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I could buy that, I guess, if those 16 and 17-year-olds go, well,
what do you think they're going to hear in school? You kidding me? The academy is so thoroughly failed that these kids are being treated like recruits.
I know two teachers. I know Rook's daughter and I know my niece. Neither one are, going to recruit people for the Democratic Party.
Well, that's two.
Yeah.
It's an army of what starts with one, huh? An army of
There's
one.
two.
I've just given you as much data and proof as you've given me on the other side.
Well, a lot I'm going on is instinct and history and the realization of the power of Minnesota Education Association, and I just don't have great hopes that this is a means for tremendous civic understanding across party lines.
Yeah, I think we're doomed there. There's no civic understanding ever.
Well,
I'm pretty much given up on the whole process, as you may have noticed. But
me too.
and I mean the country is a process, which is kind of sad. But
the country's broken. The city of St. Paul is broken. What I'm saying is this isn't going to help anything. It sounds great. It sounds it sounds wonderful. It sounds altruistic as hell. I don't buy it. That's all I'm telling you is I just don't buy it.
And for me, all I want is the easiest way for everybody in the United States to vote. That's all I want. And so we're at odds and that, and I understand that.
I wonder where you wouldn't stop in the creation of ease.
Well, where would I mean? Well,
how easy do you want it to be? Should you even ever have to press a button? There must be some way you can telepathically signal your interests.
You can't vote by proxy, of course not. That's not,
Well, that might be coming.
I can't vote for you, I mean, I can't say, well, Joe says he's going to vote for whoever.
Yeah, Joe wins his election without every year.
I can't.
All of his
he
guys
runs
win.
unopposed.
There's an Alpha News piece that said Walz breaks promise, signs partisan election package. But the way Alpha News pieces print, it just ate the part about Walz, and I can't read it. I don't know what under what context did Walz at one time refuse to go along with this, because he's backed down completely.
Here we go.
Maybe you could bring that up, John. Yeah.
But this isn't the only thing that he promised on his campaign trail.
I don't trust him anymore as far as I can throw him, and you couldn't throw him very far.
No.
Governor Walz signed a partisan election reforms package and received no Republican support, breaking from a long-standing Minnesota tradition of only signing bipartisan election legislation.
Mm-hmm.
Walz said he would abide by that precedent, the precedent being
bipartisan legislation.
Correct. In a 2019 interview saying bipartisan support should be, quote, the bar. Yeah, I agree, he said.
Every bill they pass this year has no bipartisan support.
I'm glad you said that. I was just going to say, hasn't that been pretty much the same with every bill?
Right.
It's been along party
so
lines.
He backed off what he said in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Not one Republican, I don't care what you think of Republicans, the fact that now, and there's some, common sense Republicans in Minnesota, they're not the Marjorie Taylor Greene Republicans. Not one of them voted for this. What does that tell you?
And like you just said, that's not the only bill where
Every
that's
bill
happened.
this guy will sign anything you put in front of his stubby little fingers.
You know what I get a picture of? Remember in Blazing Saddles when Mel Brooks was signing legislation as the governor? His eyes crossed, just signing away.
Not one single Republican went for this because they know what this is.
B as in B.
You can think all you want about, well, this is nothing more than making it easier. No, it's recruitment. It's BS is what it is.
Quick sidebar. I was trying to find the Governor Walz campaign video from back in October or November, and I remember seeing this about how they were going to cut the Social Security tax.
Oh, they might cut a somewhat, but he hasn't gotten around to that. The legislature hasn't gotten around to that.
The video is no longer on his Governor Tim Walz for Minnesota YouTube channel. I remember watching it, and it's no longer on there, which I'm sure that's just purely coincidental.
John, let's go to the failed academy.
Okay.
In Colorado. The Colorado Education Association has a new resolution.
Okay.
The CEA believes that capitalism inherently exploits children, public schools, land, labor, and resources. Capitalism is in opposition to fully addressing systemic racism, climate change, patriarchy, gender and LGBTQ disparities, education inequality, and income inequality. The Lion, a Christian education publication, reported Wednesday. The second sentence is the originally proposed resolution read, "The only way to fully address systemic racism, climate change, patriarchy, gender and LGBT disparities, education inequality, income inequality is to dismantle capitalism and replace it with new equitable economic system." And I submit to you that the kids of the failed academy will learn this, and in the event Colorado makes it easier to vote, those kids ain't voting for anybody that goes against this. The original resolution also stated that its reason for being submitted is because teachers are constantly using Band-Aids and minor reforms to make things better, but the system itself is the problem and it needs to be named. College and high school history instructor Brian Lindstrom proposed the resolution. Lindstrom retweeted a post stating the resolution allows the union to publicly advocate and lobby for anti-capitalist policies at the Colorado State Capitol. The national branch of the union, the National Education Association, has been embroiled in controversy in recent years. For example, in December, reports emerged that the union reportedly engaged in substantial coordination and collaboration with the Education Department over policymaking. The union also opposed the Republican-led Parents' Bill of Rights Act. All right.
How about this part of the story?
Yep.
Democratic Colorado Governor Jared Polis criticized the union, saying, what a bizarre thing.
Good.
It's a great economic engine of capitalism that creates prosperity that funds our schools, according to the governor.
Well, I hope he wins.
He wins what?
I mean, I hope his wisdom prevails.
Well, my point being, of course, we're talking about voting. That's how you tied it all in. And this is a Democratic governor going against those ideas.
John, you've got the union chief in Minneapolis who's an anti-capitalist and said they must dismantle capitalism when the union was on strike.
Yeah, I agree. I brought that to your attention, as a matter of fact.
That's right.
I was
That's right.
first one to see it.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what I said.
I think it's two different arguments we're having here.
Don't call me a you.
Don't think
Don't call me a you.
Along those lines, I saved this video for you from Friday afternoon. Speaking of Colorado, Joe, there's a Denver City Council member by the name of Candy, Candi, Sadabaka, who is running for re-election, and she says, Joe, white-owned businesses should be taxed extra and redistributed to black-owned businesses.
Oh.
Capitalism was built on stolen land, stolen labor, and stolen resources. And a check today could not undo the cumulative impact of generations of that stolen wealth in all of those categories. And so I think it has to come in the form of land, labor, and resources in an ongoing fashion. And there are structures that we have that could be flipped to begin to do that reparations. In fact, my opponent here mentioned 5 Points and the corridor and what has happened to our businesses there. Part of what has catalyzed that exponential decimation of Black businesses is the 5 Points bid, the business improvement district.
Turn it off. I told you Friday.
Whoa.
At the heart of the mystery is the fundamental belief that the country should not have been founded, or at the very least should not have been founded by white guys, that they're patriarchal. We're out to destroy that. We're out to upend capitalism. We're all about trying to bring about a different country that is not the United States. The United States is unfair. It's foul. It's mean-spirited, and smart people like me who've graduated from the failed academy are here to take care of you and fix it by creating equity and inclusion everywhere possible, no matter what that means. We are no longer in favor of competition. We are no longer in favor of winning and losing. We're no longer in favor of entrepreneurship. We're only in favor of making the playing field as miserable for everyone as possibly we can, because that's the only thing that can arise from our desires is a complete misery across the American landscape. And we would prefer that. We would prefer that complete misery over the way the system works now, because the system obviously rewards only white people, and that's because the country was founded by white people. They were evil. They were flawed. They owned slaves. They took lands from the Indians, and we're here to rectify that. So if that councilwoman in Colorado had any chutzpah whatsoever, she would have said, we can no longer hold our meetings in this building. I don't know where she's going to find, a square block of land in Colorado to build a new city council. But if she really wants to practice what she preaches, she'd have to no longer go into that building. You'd have to find a building.
You want her to put her money where her mouth is.
Well, you put your money where your mouth is. You know where you do that? Grundhofers.
Huh?
Yeah, you put your money at your mouth at Grundhofers.
Wow. Super segue.
What a grilling day it was yesterday. Oh
yeah.
Boy,
Perfect.
oh boy. I hope you
Perfect.
grilled your rookie burgers, and you could even, people. You know what people do with the town ball meatloaf?
What's
Some
that?
people make reform it into meatballs.
Burgers.
Meatballs,
meatballs.
burgers.
Okay.
That'd be good.
I have done that. It's very good.
Over 140 flavors of brats. All Grundhofer's beef is Minnesota grown. It's beef for Minnesota farmers.
beef.
You ain't sending the money to Hong Kong. You know what
Big
I'm
birth.
saying?
Right. Exactly.
And I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg. There's fish, there's chicken, there's pork shoulders, steaks, chops. It's a meat emporium. It's absolutely fabulous. And anyone there can help you if you have questions about preparing these marvelous dishes. It's Grundhofer's double smoked hams, double smoked thick cut
How do you
bacon.
tease? This isn't fair.
Oh, man. It's on Highway 61, just north of Hugo. And again, on Highway 97, just east of Interstate 35. It's Grundhofer's Old Fashioned Meats.
It's true. Some of us GLers fairly obsessive about our lawns. If you want the best lawn on the block, you've got to go with ProfessionalTurf.com, a Minnesota lawn care company since 1982. ProTurf has service techs with over 20 years of, I almost said 70, 20 years of experience that have been servicing the same route. So they get to know your lawn. When I lived in South Minneapolis, I got to tell you, my lawn was ProTurf's problem, but ProTurf has this really cool toot sweet policy, meaning if you see something janky on your lawn in the middle of the season, get a hold of them and they'll be out toot sweet and they'll take care of that. They'll rectify it for you. That's what they do. Schedule a free in-person lawn care analysis and estimate right now at ProfessionalTurf.com. A ProTurf tech will come out once the snow has melted and then customize a slow-release fertilizer and weed control program. Safe and environmentally guaranteed. You'll get a great lawn. Just click away, ProfessionalTurf.com.
Okay.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
This Dylan?
Yeah, it's Dylan and Dylan Reese. Dylan did all the music. And then there's a vocal, but not this version, probably. It's Dylan Reese.
That's nice. That's peaceful. That's charitable. Hey, Minnesota Masonic Charities. I promised to deliver on some of the letters that were there for the first Selfless Scholar recipient. The objective is to uncover stories of kindness that would otherwise go untold. This comes from a student at St. Cloud Cathedral. My name is Maya Walz, but this story of kindness is actually about my sister Kira and her awesome experience with Allison Schneider at a dance camp. My sister has Down syndrome and loves to dance. Naturally, when Cathedral Dance Team was offering a dance camp for kids, my family thought she needed to go. We knew she would be excited to participate, but she would need a helper to keep her engaged with eating, bathroom, tying shoes, etc. Kira was so blessed to have Allison as her helper for the 2 days. There was nobody else who could have been so compassionate and energetic as Allison. She keeps a positive attitude wherever she goes. She was the perfect helper because also she helps her mom in the classroom where she works as an elementary teacher in the public school Oak Hill. We had no worries sending Kira to the camp because Allison was so good. Part of the camp is a performance, and Allison stood next to Kira the whole time, helping her participate to the fullest. Kira still does the dances and talks about it months later. This is greatly credited to Allison. Sometimes people are hesitant and have to be responsible for Kira, but Allison was excited. She even signed up for her positivity was such a blessing that Kira and our family are very grateful for. Allison is very helpful in NHS and in her community as well. She helped teach many courses with NHS at Catholic elementary schools at St. Mary's and St. Augusta twice. She is always willing to help on a committee, and I have been on a few committees with Allison through NHS. She's a fabulous communicator, pulls her weight, and when others it's necessary, she does it with a smile. She's very deserving of this scholarship. That's what you get, folks, with mnmasoniccharities.org. Check out and learn about the wonderful scholarship program, the first Selfless Scholar recipient. Thank you.
Here's John Heidt, brought to you by ProfessionalTurf.com.
You always put me at ease, too, when you start checking your watch and stuff like that.
Here's John.
Thanks, Joe and Chris and Rook, you too.
Thank you, bud.
As Chris said, this is brought to you by ProfessionalTurf.com. Cut my lawn yesterday. It's gorgeous already. So
I thought we were doing No Mo May.
I'm not doing No Mo May.
You cut your
The
grass already?
scientist said No Mo May is a bad idea, and we love science. We follow the science.
Oh. I just don't have enough time right now. Can I wait till Memorial Day?
Yeah, it was so nice yesterday.
It was.
In the news, authorities yesterday identified the Western Wisconsin deputy who was shot and killed while responding to the report of a drunk driver in a ditch on Saturday night near Glenwood, Wisconsin. It happened about 6:15 in the evening. Deputy Katie Lysing responded to the scene near the intersection of Highway 128 and County Road G. There she encountered a car in a ditch and another vehicle with people who had pulled over to help. The 29-year-old officer asked the driver of the car in the ditch, 34-year-old Jeremiah Johnson, to perform a field sobriety test, but he was evasive, according to the Wisconsin Department of Justice. Lysing spoke with Johnson for about 8 minutes before he pulled out a handgun and shot her. The officer fired 3 rounds back at him, but they all missed. The Good Samaritans who had pulled over tried to save Lysing's life, but she was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Officers searched the surrounding woods for the suspect. And about an hour after the shooting, an officer saw Johnson, heard a gunshot, and saw him fall to the ground. He was found with a handgun next to him, and no officers fired their weapons, according to the DOJ. Lysing had joined the St. Croix Sheriff's Office in 2022, had previously served 2 years with the Pennington County Sheriff's Office in South Dakota. The Wisconsin Division of Criminal Investigation is taking the lead in the investigation. They'll turn a report over to the St. Croix County District Attorney when the investigation is wrapped up. The deputy's body camera recorded the exchange of gunfire, according to the DOJ. This is the 3rd incident within the past month where a law enforcement officer died in the line of duty in Minnesota or Wisconsin.
I have a question. Where was she standing during this exchange of gunfire?
Yeah, that
do we know?
No, I haven't seen any information about that.
And
why do you ask, I wonder?
How did she miss 3 times? How do you...
Well, she had already been shot
when she fired it.
So maybe that explains it.
Yeah, she had already been shot by this guy.
Okay, never mind then.
Okay.
Never mind.
A story that we've covered already. A father who was shot and killed early Saturday morning in the St. Anthony Park neighborhood of St. Paul has been identified as 44-year-old Michael Brasel. He is survived by his wife, Hillary, and their 2 boys. In a Facebook post, his wife said her husband was shot 3 times after confronting a man trying to break into her car. Investigators think he interrupted the crime in progress outside his home on the 2300 block of Chillicombe Avenue and was shot to death in the front walkway leading to the house. Neighbors in the area expressing disbelief that a crime of that sort could happen there. St. Paul police spokesperson said no arrests have been made in the case and the investigation is continuing.
Now, that report makes it sound like it was only one bad guy.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that it was more than one.
I made the assumption that it was also more than one person, but
He's exactly the kind of guy I've been bugging in St. Paul to run for office. He's no longer available.
No.
Yeah. A chaotic weekend, Dinkytown, Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Assault, disorderly conduct, fleeing police, and curfew violations. Some of the citations issued to teens who showed up in large crowds on Friday night. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said some of the people were not locals. They were from suburbs, Edina, Eden Prairie, and the 2 Brooklyns. In a span of 3 hours, 9 people were cited. Of those, 6 were arrested, including an 18-year-old who was found with fireworks and a baseball bat. O'Hara said we will not tolerate.
Maybe he was just going to go play a pickup game, huh, John?
Could be.
We will not tolerate these types of disorderly acts. We won't tolerate these assaults and these kinds of things, according to the police chief.
Wasn't Saturday night rainy?
It was Friday.
This was Friday night?
But didn't they have issues both nights, Johnny?
Did they? I don't know.
I think they did.
I saw it was Friday.
I guess I'm wondering what's going to happen when it's 85 and beautiful.
I had a call over the weekend, Joe, on that very matter from a friend that is on the inside that I used to work with.
Yeah.
He said, if you think it's bad now, this is going to be a very bad summer.
I wonder why. I mean, we're turning the corner. We're having a food fest down there and everything.
Well, we're having the Taste of July.
Taste of Minnesota, yeah.
Taste of...
On the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any problem there.
No, that'll be fine. It'll go off without a hitch. Hey, quick email from Joe Geegan, who is a subscriber to the Garage Logic Town Council, and you should too. Subject line, Colorado.
Yeah.
You guys were wondering. Yeah. Historically, gentlemen, Colorado was a conservative, right-leaning state. The tide has turned slowly as a result of the Californication of Colorado by transplants. It's very discouraging to witness. Here in Colorado Springs, we are in the middle of a mayoral race between a socialist and a conservative, and I fear the socialist will win. Always pushing back, Joe Geegan, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Thank you for your subscription to the Garage Logic Town Council.
And Candy, we talked about, is a socialist too. So socialists must be very popular, it sounds like, in Colorado.
Well, they're popular here, for Pete's sake.
Well, that's weird, though. So you escape California because you're sick of all the crap that's going on.
Why would you bring it with you?
But you're going to bring it with you to Colorado.
Right.
Yeah.
Xcel Energy plans to build another large solar array in Becker, creating one of the largest solar power complexes in the country. Xcel said today it'll ask Minnesota utility regulators to add a 250-megawatt solar array to the 460-megawatt Sherco solar project that's already approved. The plan is to complete the entire complex by the end of 2025. Still, Xcel acknowledged in a regulatory filing late Friday that costs for new solar farms and clean energy products generally have been soaring. Authorities killed...
This is my email.
Is he checking to see if you're doing your homework?
Yeah, what's going on here?
That's exactly what it looks like.
Am I supposed to be looking something up? What is it? What's going on here?
Look, Chris, you should have gone, psst, the teacher's coming around.
Teacher's coming. Hide your test results.
I was going to go move a microphone.
Authorities killed a black bear that was wandering through a North Minneapolis neighborhood on Sunday morning. According to the Minneapolis Police Department, the bear was first reported at 8:42 in the morning near North Girard and 14th Avenues. Police found the bear and noted it may have had an injured front paw.
No, what'd you have to do that for?
No.
Don't we have our bear update theme?
This is a bear update.
Police say the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources was requested for help.
We interrupt this program to bring you a bulletin concerning the bear in Central City. Jellystone Park has turned into a city. Hold it, bear! Hey, look at that bear up there!
Your finest efforts.
Look at that bear up there! All right, look out! Come back here, bear! Don't be afraid, bear. Move this way.
Sense the
Give me
tension.
your paw.
What did you do that for?
That's not a bear.
buy them.
That's not a bear.
He sounds like a bear.
It's not a bear.
It's a lion. It's a lion.
It's a lion.
DNA spokesman said a DNR conservation officer killed the bear because the animal presented an immediate public safety threat due to its presence in a densely populated area.
I'll tell you what, I would have let the bear roam all day long. It would have kept crime down.
Keep people off the streets?
Yep.
Yeah, I got you.
I would have let the bear roam all day. Look, they're getting closer and closer. They're part of the urban wildlife now.
Come on in.
I mean, this is 14th Avenue and Girard.
Yeah.
They're downtown.
Yeah.
They have office suites.
They have office suites.
They're having lunch on the mall. They're here. Wolves are next.
If you saw the pictures of this too, it was
a
very, very crowded area. So it wasn't like he was running around the woods.
Nope. This bear was right part of the action. He lived in the city.
Harding High School got some positive news Sunday when one of its math teachers was named State Teacher of the Year by Education Minnesota. Michael Houston, one of 2 Harding teachers and 4 from St. Paul Public Schools among the 11 finalists for the Teacher Union's award. He was also a finalist in 2017. Houston has coached football 18 of his 19 years at Harding, where he chairs the math department and is a union steward. He also is an adjunct professor at Concordia University in St. Paul, where he teaches math to aspiring elementary teachers. Houston said his teaching philosophy has always been centered upon creating classroom community. In the wake of the pandemic and the ongoing trauma our Harding students have endured, my goal every day is to make sure they have fun in their learning and know they are loved.
You know how cynical and warped my brain is?
No, I don't.
You guys have been around me long enough. And not to discredit anything that this guy has done, because I'm sure he's a top drawer, best of the best, right?
Apparently.
Did they pick him specifically because it was Harding?
Oh, because they had a death there?
Because we had a stabbing?
I don't know. No, he must be the Cracker Jack
And
guy.
I'm sure he is. I'm just saying I just found it curious.
Yeah.
That's all.
We'll have more news, huh?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes.
I hope so.
Right after this.
Tri-State Bobcat in Burnsville, Little Canada, and Hudson has the best sale prices of the year on a couple of amazing Toro snowblowers. The big spring sale is on the Toro single-stage Power Clear snowblower and the Power Max two-stage snowblower, and you won't find a better deal than right now. And whether you opt for the single-stage Power Clear or the two-stage Power Max, you'll look forward to the next snowfall with these amazing Toro snowblowers. Tri-State Bobcat is in Burnsville, Little Canada, and Hudson, and on the web, tristatebobcat.com.
Truth, justice, and the Souchere.
You know, folks, when you want to work with a professional, you want to see what their background is all about. See if they know what they're doing, how long they've been in business, and do they do quality work. Well, you have a gem right here in the great city of Minneapolis with Welter Heating, Ray and Welter. They're online at welterheating.com. And if you call them, there will be a live person that picks up the telephone after you dial 612-825-6867. I had some work done at my home by the Welter people, and it is beautiful. I've got to tell you right now that 100 years and 4 generations, that's what backs them up. And you can trust them with your air conditioning, your heating unit, your air purification, whatever the case may be. If you want to go to their website, you can also get some free advice. There's a Q&A that won't cost you a single dime. Online at welterheating.com. Let them know you heard it from the Rook on the Garage Logic podcast. 612-825-6867. welterheating.com.
In other news.
Yeah. And you're still complaining about it.
No, I'm not.
No, that's your reward.
Yeah.
He's showing you.
I yield the balance of my 1.7 seconds of time.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks,
In other news, although we may not want to hear all this news, unfortunately, lots of bad news from Texas. We've already talked about parts of it this weekend. Federal officials still looking for a motive about the gunman who killed 8 people at a Dallas area mall. Yesterday, police said the man had expressed an interest in white supremacist ideology as they worked to discern a motive. Federal agents have been reviewing social media accounts they think were used by 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia and posts that expressed interest in white supremacist and neo-Nazi views. Garcia also had a patch on his chest when he was killed by police that read RWDS, an acronym for the phrase right-wing death squad, which is popular among right-wing extremists and white supremacy groups. In addition to reviewing social media posts, federal agents have interviewed family members and associates of Garcia to ask about his ideological beliefs. Investigators are also reviewing financial records. A law enforcement official said investigators searched a Dallas motel near an interstate where he had been staying. The official said police found multiple weapons at the scene. 2 law enforcement officials said investigators also searched a Dallas home connected to that suspect. In all, 8 people killed in that shooting.
The new Star Tribune editorial cartoonist, I think his name is Mike Thompson.
Yes.
Who's smart enough not to come on the air, apparently. He finally had his second cartoon ever appear in the paper, and it was okay. It was acceptable because it was ripping Clarence Thomas. But it'll be interesting to watch his cartoons, given that the signal has been sent to him that there are certain people who apparently are going to be hands-off, and it'll be interesting to watch what he comes up with.
That's an amazing thing for a newspaper to say, hey, you can only do this.
Well, we don't know that, but the lesson was made clear, I think.
I think to do that job, you'd almost have to be, you'd have to go with whatever you want, right? And then hope the newspaper accepts it. I don't know how else you could do that job.
Back to the KKK. I was watching Grand Nighthawk, the George Stephanopoulos.
KKK?
Yeah. Well, this guy was neo-Nazi, this moron.
Yeah.
But I would just say, really good. I was surprised at how interesting it was. The George Stephanopoulos series that's called The Grand Nighthawk. It just came out.
I'm unaware of it.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah,
I thought everybody knew about it. Okay. Take it back.
Also in Texas, Brownsville police have identified the driver in a fatal car crash that left 8 people dead outside a migrant center in Texas. He was identified as 34-year-old George Alvarez. Alvarez lost control of his SUV while running a red light. The SUV then rolled onto its side, slammed into a group of people outside a migrant center. Police found 6 people dead when they arrived, another 12 that were in need of critical care. The death total eventually rose to 8. Alvarez allegedly tried to flee the scene of the accident, was held down by bystanders, according to the chief of police there. Police say they have not ruled out if the collision was intentional or not. I did see a picture of Mr. Alvarez, who looks extremely intoxicated in his shot. He did have also a pretty long rap sheet, shall we say, for different things. He was uncooperative, according to police, as part of this investigation. The 8 people killed, police say most of them were migrants from Venezuela.
Getting back to Thompson's first cartoon, which included benignly a reference to the Muslim call for prayer now being approved in Minneapolis, Marshall Tannick, a lawyer, had a good piece in the Star Tribune today saying that of course, he had to couch it in all kinds of terms to make sure he was seen to be on the right team. But he said this presents an interesting legal situation because constitutionally the government may not favor one religion over another. And he predicts very interesting legal questions will come to the forefront at some point, and he predicts lawsuits over the call, because it is a violation of certain aspects of the Constitution.
But in this current state of Minnesota politics, who is going to be the one to come forward?
I'm not as confident as Tannick's a lawyer. He knows what he's talking about. I'm not as confident as he is that this will ever result in a lawsuit. But he said if it does, there is grounds there to pursue it legally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
As he begins his campaign for re-election, President Biden facing substantial and multiple challenges, according to a new Washington Post ABC News survey. His overall approval ratings have slipped to a new low. More Americans than not doubt his mental acuity, and his support against leading Republican challengers is far sketchier than at this point 4 years ago. Former President Donald Trump leads a still-forming field of candidates for the Republican nomination, receiving about twice as much support as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is not yet announced for the presidency. Trump, though, according to the poll, carries his own baggage, with a majority of people saying he should face criminal charges in cases involving efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, events leading to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, and his handling of classified documents. Biden's overall job approval rating stands at 36%. That's down from 42 in February. Neither Biden nor Trump
Get
is
to the point where you're really feeling bad for the guy. It's down at 28%.
Neither Biden nor Trump is viewed positively on questions of honesty and trustworthiness. A much larger majority sees Trump as dishonest. 33% say Trump is honest, and 63% think he is not. 41% say Biden's honest. 54% say he is not. Even worse for Biden, according to this survey, the president trails his predecessor, Trump, by 7 points in a hypothetical 2024 general election matchup.
Just think if it comes down to Biden and Trump again in 2024, Biden's brain is held in high suspicion for his thinking processes, and Trump's brain stopped functioning at the age of 7. So what this once great country has two basically idiots that would be running for president.
Did you see when he was giving his electronic, what was he just, not indictment, but his statement for this?
Yeah.
And he said, it's been this way for 1 million years and more. I'm like, why does he say stuff like that?
The question was, do you think celebrities should be allowed to, do you consider yourself a celebrity?
Oh, yeah.
And he said,
that's right.
yes.
Yes.
And he said, do you think celebrities should be allowed I'll paraphrase, to get away with behavior towards women that you have been alleged to have gotten away with? And he said, well, it's been that way for 1 million years.
Stars have been able
Was there
to
a
do
big TV star 1 million years ago who came out of the cave?
Gore!
Reality show.
Look out, girls, Gore's coming.
Gore's in town.
Newton Minow.
He was an FCC guy.
That's right. Very familiar
Hell
name
of a name.
to somebody.
Newton Minow. He looked like a guy named Newton Minow.
Very familiar name to someone of mine or Joe's age, has died. He was 97. He died from a heart attack. Minow, who as President John F. Kennedy's new FCC chairman in 1961, sent shockwaves through an industry and touched a nerve in a nation addicted to, well, television by calling television, quote, a vast wasteland, a phrase that has lived on.
Well, he wasn't far off.
He died Saturday, he died Saturday at his home in Chicago. On May 9th, 1961, almost 4 months after President Kennedy called upon Americans to renew their commitment to freedom around the globe, Minow got up before 2,000 broadcast executives at a luncheon in Washington and made those comments. Now, he did do other stuff. He's remembered for that, but he was only an FCC member for 2 years. The things he wanted to be remembered for, he said, was that he required TV sets to have the UHF signals. That's the ultra high frequency, as well as very high frequency VHF. By the end of the 60s, most Americans had reception of all those channels, and Minow also pushed legislation that opened the era of satellite communications. That fostered the creation by a consortium of interests of the Communication Satellite Corporation. And of course, in the 60s and 70s, the U.S. took the lead in that. Newton Minow was 97. And we have one music death, very obscure to you fellas, I'm sure. Not to me. One of the better jazz guitarists of the past 5 decades has died. Jack Wilkins, Brooklyn, New York native, died Friday after a short illness. He was 78, had been gigging up to 2 months ago. Boy, I wish Kenny was here because he would know this. He played straight-ahead jazz, a really good straight-ahead jazz player, but his song, his version of Freddie Hubbard's Red Clay was sampled by a tribe called Quest back in 1993. So you've...
what song?
If you listen,
what song by Tribe?
Red Clay.
I can't. No, Red Clay was the Freddie Hubbard song.
That's the sample
Wilkins was playing. I can't say it, Chris. I can tell you off air.
Okay.
It involves a word I should not say on the
I guess
air.
I'm not familiar with Freddie.
Freddie Hubbard or
Freddie Mertz?
Who's the guy who died?
Who's bringing the truck, Freddie?
Jack Wilkins
Jack.
died.
I don't know Jack.
Freddie Hubbard was a brilliant
A lot
jazz
of listeners
trumpet
say that.
player who's been dead for, 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Freddie
Well,
Hubbard. He played the original version of Red Clay.
Yeah.
I think it was covered by Tribe Called Quest, Joe.
Yeah. Well, I want my jazz info. I'm going right to you from now on. And one more story. You want one more?
Yes.
Okay. After posting a record $3.1 billion in revenue for the first quarter of 2023, Live Nation, concert industry giant, is cutting music fans a deal with $25 all-in tickets across the country this week, including dozens of Twin Cities shows. The shows that you can get $25 tickets for right now from Live Nation.
Yeah.
Fall Out Boy, Janet Jackson, Pink, Willie Nelson, Lionel Richie, Wu-Tang Clan, Jason Aldean, Bryan Adams, 5 Seconds of Summer, Nickelback, and lots more. They're slashing the prices on all of those as a thank you. It starts Wednesday at 9 a.m. Just
Joe
go
wouldn't
Live
pay
Nation.
$25 to see Nickelback.
Are they all coming to the Twin Cities?
In different areas, yeah. Some of those I know
Lionel
are at
is.
Maybe
casinos.
Willie Nelson, but not the rest of them.
Lionel? I'd go see Lionel Richie.
How about Fall Out Boy?
I've seen Lionel, actually. Lionel was very good.
I think Lionel performed at the King's coronation.
Oh,
he did.
And his voice was criticized mightily as failing.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, okay, then here's what. He's a stand-up guy then because he didn't use any tricks. He did his own voice, and this is what you get.
Right, and apparently he's having trouble with his voice. He's getting up there, isn't he? Lionel's not a kid.
He's got to be close to 80.
He doesn't have the Roycey throat, does he?
We're going to find out on Monday Night Sports Talk.
70s, I'm sure.
Huh? 70.
He's got to be in the
73.
70s.
Only
Tuskegee.
73?
Yes.
Who?
Boy, he's been around a long time.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, since the 70s.
Yeah.
Mueller Memorial Funerals and Cremation. When you mention these words, I suppose it invokes concern, anxiety, sadness, not with Mueller. Well, it does with Mueller, but they're there to handle it. They're there to make things smoother for you. They've been doing it for more than 75 years. We're in the third generation now. I know this family. I've known them all my life. I know the owner, Scott Mueller, and his family. Mueller, he's a different cat. He knows how to help you in ways that you will be surprised to learn. He takes care of difficult details. They'll honor your loved one and bring families together to celebrate a life well lived. This is not fun. This is not fun to deal with or think about. But once you learn about what's involved, you'll understand it doesn't have to be overwhelming and frightening. Scott has written a book called What to Know Before You Go. It's free if copies are still available. Go to MuellerMemorial.com/GL to request that book. It answers all the questions you might have about planning a funeral or a cremation. Even if you don't think it might be right for you now, it ultimately, of course, will be. Mueller Memorial, the people at Mueller's are there to help you take care of the difficult details. Go to MuellerMemorial.com.
K&L Surplus and Ammo is your one-stop shop for all firearms-related products for over 25 years. Why? K&L Surplus and Ammo offers one of the widest selection of firearms in the region. The big box stores say they do too, but that usually means they have a lot of inventory, not a wide selection. K&L has a broad selection of different calibers, is veteran-owned, and offers first responder and veteran discounts. K&L is also committed to safety and a licensed FFL retailer. Find out for yourself why K&L Surplus and Ammo has been the choice of gun owners for over 25 years. KNLGunstore.com.
Joe Souchere, the keeper of common sense.
Is this Dylan?
Yes.
Yes.
Playing everything?
Mm-hmm.
Hail the Flashlight King.
Hail you.
Up here in North Dakota, we finally got our first 70 on a Friday, so I had a little garage door opener of my own. I did some rearranging and got some of my cylinders running from their winter slumber. I got lucky. I only
Good
had
for
one
you.
dead battery.
He's telling everybody.
And being they had sea foam in the tank, they fired right off and were purring like a kitten at the milk pail. As I was reminiscing, driving them around, it got me thinking, what is the ruling on cylinders older than the owner and or if they have heritage? I have a 1959 Ford 971. He sent me a picture. These are tractors from the farm, and one of the tractors I grew up learning to drive. The next one was a 1948 Ford 8N, which was owned by a neighbor of my grandfather. The third is a mid-40s Ford 2N that I raised my hand at an auction one too many times. I guess I had to have it. There are a few other cylinders also, but those are resting right now, awaiting TLC to bring them back to life. Good luck, Brent from North Dakota. Rulings, the cylinders that are old or have heritage get no special notice. They're just part of your cylinder index.
Right.
In fact, I've always thought of the cylinder index as it being preferable to have old cylinders.
Okay.
And you do with this beautiful array of tractors. But old cylinders or cylinders owned by loved ones get no special.
Carry the same weight.
They get no special acknowledgement, Matt.
Got it.
But it's worth
special acknowledgement.
It's worth noting that there is a special new feature on the Garage Logic website for a ruling, for specifically needing a ruling from the mayor.
Well, that's why you'd always want to go to garagelogic.com and check them out. You know what I'm saying?
This is from the Robert Bryce Substack. I don't know who Robert Bryce is, but this seems credible. In March, Ford Motor Company announced that it lost $2.1 billion on its EV business last year.
Oof.
Those losses were double the losses it had on EVs in 2021.
Wow.
As I noted in a video I posted on TikTok on March 23rd, Ford made 61,575 EVs in 2022. Boy, I'm surprised it was that many.
Yeah.
Thus, the company lost about $34,000 on every EV it sold last year. I also noted that the costs of making EVs are not falling. Last year, the cost of battery packs for EVs went up 7%. While the 2022 losses were huge, warning signs show plenty of potholes lie ahead. And this guy goes on to say that it appears Ford's 2022 losses were only a warm-up. Yesterday afternoon, this is dated, what's today, the 8th?
Today's the 8th.
This is dated today.
Yep.
Yesterday afternoon, Ford reported did they report it on a Sunday, do you think?
I doubt it.
Yesterday afternoon, Ford reported a $722 million loss on its EV business over the first 3 months of 2023. During that span, Ford sold 10,866 EVs, meaning it lost $66,446 on every EV it sold. Okay. And it goes on to say how the only thing that keeps them afloat is selling gas-powered vehicles.
Is that from CNN?
And I'm getting an email from a listener who's complaining about EVs, and he said, why don't you just shut up and not buy one? Well, I'm not going to buy one. Actually, I thought I was doing you all a public service by trying to keep you from buying one. You're not doing yourself or the earth any favors.
Well, I don't. So they're mad?
They're mad at me because I keep harping on EVs. Or he's mad at me because I keep harping on EVs.
Well, it's not even necessarily the EV. It's the incessant push.
So the whole concept is flawed. It's a government car. And if you need about an annual income of $150,000 to be the average EV buyer.
And cross your fingers that you don't need to replace the battery.
Yeah.
To be the average EV buyer has an annual income of $150,000, about twice the U.S. average.
Sorry, the battery.
Yeah.
Battery.
So there you have it. Go ahead and get one if you want. I don't think you're doing the earth any favors, and you're fooling yourself, but that's fine with me.
Yes, John.
Before you move on, Joe, if I may, I got an email from Trish.
Yeah.
And Trish alerted me to an Alpha News story about Dinkytown. We were talking about Dinkytown.
Yes.
There's a lot of information in there to read, but here's the really interesting part to me. One of the arrested parties Friday night was 18-year-old Abdikara Daud Hashi of Edina. Jail records show he was booked on misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct and possession of fireworks, released from custody just before 2 p.m. on Saturday after posting $78 cash bail.
$78?
Well, wait, now it gets better. A check of jail records showed Hashi was arrested again Saturday night, less than 12 hours after being released from jail the first time.
Honest to God.
He was booked the second time on probable cause charge of riot. Hashi was being held without bail as of now, according to the new booking record. It's a very interesting story about everything that went on down there. But yeah,
my $78.
You want to establish an over/under on the amount of times the people who killed Michael Brasel have been arrested? Should we establish an over-under for the
minimum
show?
2?
I'm going to go 5.
5.
Mm-hmm.
5 times arrested?
5 times confronted with criminal behavior. If that included an arrest, so be it.
I will not
going
take
above
that
5.
bet.
I'm going above 5.
You're going above 5?
Yeah, I think
I'll take
it's gonna
5.
be
John,
lengthy.
you in?
I will. If they're older, I'll go above 5. Not older, but 17, 18. If they're younger, maybe 2.
I'll go. I'm going to go 5.
I'm going 7.
All right. Only because they come. Wait a minute. I wanted to say something about the king's coronation.
That's
Well, you
right.
did.
I've often said that I've allowed myself to be entertained by the royalty. I think I've reached the end of that.
Did it die with the Queen?
Game over.
Yeah, I was a Queen guy. I like the Queen.
Yeah, we've heard that.
But it's reached the point of such silliness that I can't believe it. And for this old fool Chuck to take this seriously is just, I can't take it anymore.
Basically,
it's just,
all he's done his whole life is wait.
he doesn't do anything, and cost the taxpayers $125 million to throw the weekend. Then there was a hell of a piece in the Saturday Wall Street Journal about Britain's past and how they built their fortune, and it's not all good.
No, it sure isn't.
The gal Camilla, she was supposed to wear the newer diamond on her hat, the Queen consort's hat, but they wised up and kept the diamond locked up because it turns out they stole it from India anyway. They really didn't own that properly. They took that from India in the, I believe, the late 19th century. They just hauled her back to the cabin, and the whole thing is rife with ridiculousness. And to see,
But we're all supposed to spend the day pretending that we're.
Well, I didn't get up. I didn't watch it. You know, I saw a few pictures of it. I didn't pay any. I don't care anymore.
Right.
The Queen, I think I was interested in the Queen because her queenship has run parallel to my entire life. She's been the Queen as long as I've been alive.
Okay.
And so and the history she witnessed was fascinating, and the people she met, and I enjoyed the BS. But I'm officially done.
Okay.
I'm done.
You've retired your fandom.
This
Game
Chuck,
over. Royal game over.
Charles, I think he had a very troubled upbringing, and I just have no interest anymore in any of them.
Okay.
You know.
Well, let's just see what happens. So let's give it a couple. Let's give it a couple months and
What do
just
you mean?
see.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see where this thing all goes. You know.
Why don't they give the diamond back to India?
That's not
giving
going to
the diamond
happen.
back, yeah.
You know who's a character, though, is Willie's kid. Prince William's little guy.
Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah, he steals the show.
He likes to ham it up, doesn't he, when he knows the cameras are
course.
around?
Man, you guys know more about this than names of kids.
See, Archie.
Archie's the gold diggers kid. They live in California.
That's right.
The only British guy I ever had any interest in was Winston Churchill, and he wasn't royalty. So
Oh, I loved
royalty
Winston.
never. I do too.
Winston plays a great role in Peaky Blinders.
Really?
Well, it's just, if it's true, it's fascinating. Tommy Shelby, the head of the Peaky Blinders, which was real, was a real gang, worked for Winston.
Wow.
Helped Winston in various ways. And Winston, in his way, was certainly able to get Tommy Shelby out of a lot of jams.
Winston was also the 4th Ghostbuster, and he joined the crew.
Did not know that.
Middle part of the movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was Winston.
That's one of those, Chris, where you just drove us right off the road.
That's the one where
I'm trying to because we're patiently awaiting Monday Night Sports.
No, but your self-editing should have prevailed.
Probably stop that from coming out of my mouth.
Right, that was unnecessary.
I got it. Yeah.
Are you sorry?
I am. Sorry.
I question the sincerity.
Can you apologize if I was offended?
Only because they come to us all the way from Fernandina, the Villages, Florida.
Ah, that's
from
right.
the traveling Lymans.
This is our soil.
18 on this day.
Today is May 8th.
In 1881.
Yep.
Encouraged by Bishop John Ireland and sponsored by John Sweetman, Visionary leader of the Irish-American Colonization Company, a group of Irish farmers moved to Curry in Murray County. I'm going to keep that for Pat.
Yes, sir.
I think Full is in Murray County. Obviously it is.
Yeah.
He mentioned
just
it.
does.
On this day in 1910,
May 8th,
Governor Adolph O. Eberhart declared Minnesota's first Mother's Day. We had a governor named Adolph.
You know, you don't get Adolf anymore,
Not
do you?
anymore.
Yeah, it kind of lost its luster.
Yeah, it's got
Not
a bit
after
of
the
a
big one.
It's got a bit of a history.
It's not
with
up
it.
there on the chain.
No.
I wonder
On
if
this-
it's up there anywhere.
On this day in 1924,
Joe, today is May 8th.
ice in Duluth's harbor trapped 13 ships, confining 400 individuals aboard.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of late for ice to be trapping ships in the harbor? Ye who wants to put together statistical patterns.
But it's up there in the north, you know.
On this
Middle Lake is
day,
over north.
sports for John and Chris.
May 8th. What year?
On this day in 1968,
How do you exclude me?
what happened regarding the Twins?
May 8th, 1968.
1968.
Well, John's not going to remember.
Rod Carew made his debut.
Well, why would John has a better chance of remembering than you do? He's older than
But he
you.
wasn't a Twins fan, you know.
Oh, that was he's a Yankee fan.
Right. You know
Rodney-
what? I'm stumped.
Rodney Klein Carew made
All
his
right.
debut.
This involved a future Yankee.
68.
Future Yankee catfish hunter
Yes.
threw a no-hitter
Yes.
against the Twins.
Wow, look at you,
John.
Johnny.
Look at John. Threw a no-hitter for the Oakland Athletics. That's
right.
when Oakland was
Yes.
building its
Dynasty.
dynasty, although that wouldn't really flower until the 70s.
Yeah.
He threw a no-hitter against the Twins. The Oaklands beat the Twins 4-0.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I hate
On
that.
this day,
I hate the Twins
it
losing.
was on this day
Yeah, May 8th.
in 1968. What day was that of the week? I
May
wonder.
8th.
What day of that of the week was it?
May 8th, 68.
Because that would tell me if there were 3 people there or maybe 13,000 to see Jim Augustus.
It was a Wednesday.
Yep.
You know what Catfish Hunter's middle name was? I just said it. I let it slip out.
Jim.
Augustus.
Oh.
James Augustus
Really?
Catfish Hunter.
Jim was his first
Like
name.
Augustus Gloop.
Joe, I can tell you the attendance for that game.
All right.
6,298.
Wow.
That's something.
Standing room
Well,
only.
it's not that much better on a Wednesday today.
No. Especially when we're shooting fireworks
Now,
at
it's
each
an
other.
off day today, but then the Twins are home for a bit.
The Padres.
With the San Diegos and the Cubs coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twins, well, why am I doing Monday
Why don't you
Night
cover
Sports?
that on Sports Talk?
Because the Twins don't hit, and we'll get Pat's take on that.
Thank you, Jim.
55
Thank you,
years
G.
ago
Ellers.
today.
Gotta wrap it up.
Catfish Hunter is too tight.
Hey, G. Ellers.
Hey.
Listen to Gil tell you about the Garage Logic Town
Let me
Council.
tell you about PodMN. It's a little thing. You go to your phone there, and you go to podmn.com, and you check out other
No,
podcasts.
Gil, PodMN is an app, not a website.
I called my an old insurance company I used to have that I might want to go back to, and the lady recognized my name and said, Joe, I missed the show. And I said, podcast? Well, I don't think I can listen to it because I'm working. I said, no, the podcast is whatever you want to
Should I
listen
grab their
to.
phone and said I'm going to make this app for you
Yeah.
called PodMN. It's got all of these podcasts on it for you to look at or to hear. Actually, you don't look at them, you hear them. I'm too damn tight.
Yeah, why don't you speak normally?
All right, then go to garagelogic.com and sign up for the Garage Logic Town Council. It's also, you must go to YouTube and subscribe for Garage Logic. It's a great deal. You'll be very entertained.